Okay, fourth graders, today you're doing Module 5, Lesson 13, and you can see that your learning goal is the same as yesterday. You're going to be using benchmark numbers. Remember, those are 0, 1/2, and 1 to help you compare two fractions using a number line. You should have already gone over the problem of the day with your sub, but if not, please pause the video, make sure you write down what the question's asking, the important information, and then show how you know. And then once you're done, you can unpause the video to check your solution against mine. So this problem is asking us who ran farther, Mr. Reynolds or Mrs. Reynolds. We know that Mr. Reynolds ran for 6/10 of a mile and Mrs. Reynolds ran for 2/5 of a mile. We can use the benchmark numbers 0, 1/2, and 1 to help us figure it out. I know that 6/10 is more than 1/2 because 5 is exactly half of 10, right? And also when I split up the distance between 1 and 0 into tenths, I saw that 6/10 is right here. It is to the right of 1/2, which means that it is larger than 1/2. Then when I split it up into fifths, I decompose those tenths actually into fifths, right? I could see here that 2/10, 1, 2, is equal to 1/5, and then 2 more tenths is equal to 1/5. So here's 2/5. I could see right away that 2/5 is less than 6/10. 2/5 is less than, it's actually less than 1/2, which is also less than 6/10. So therefore, Mr. Reynolds ran farther. Okay, this question asks us to plot 7/8 and 6/4 on a number line, and then use greater than, less than, or equal to compare. So let's draw a number line first. Okay, when I draw my number line, I have 0 here, I have 1 here, and I have 2 here. Okay, I know that 7/8 is really close to 1. In fact, it is almost 1 because 8/8 would be 1. So I'm going to find a dot here close to 1. I'm going to say that that's 7/8. You can imagine that I split up the distance between 0 to 1 into 8 sections, right? And then my second number is 6/4. Well, I know that 4/4 is 1. So when I have 6/4, I can draw a number bond and show that I actually have 4/4 in there and another 2/4, right? So we know that 6/4 is the same as 4/4 plus 2/4. So that means I have 1 and another 2/4, which is actually the same as 1/2. So 6/4 is right here. So based on my number line, I can see that this is 6/4. I'm just going to write it like that. Okay, I can see that 6/4 is greater than 7/8. So there's my answer. For this next question, we have to plot 5/3 and 9/5 on a number line and then use greater than, less than, or equal to compare. Let's first think about using how we could use number bonds to find out what's going on with these fractions. We have 5/3 and we have 9/5. Both of them are what we call improper fractions because the numerator is bigger than the denominator. What that means is that there's a hole hidden in there. In the case of 5/3, we know that 3/3 makes one whole, and there's also 2/3 left. So that's the same as 1 and 2/3. 9/5 is, there's 5/5 hiding in there, there's the whole, and there's 4/5 left, right? So we know that both of them have 1. These are both versions of 1. So really what we have to compare is we have to see if 2/3 is bigger or 4/5 is bigger. Let's plot them on a number line to see. Okay, so here's our number line, right? And here's 0, here's 1, here's 2. They're both going to be on the right-hand side of 1 because they both have at least one hole, right? There's one hole and there's one hole. Now, if I were to divide this into thirds, I could see that 2/3 is right there, right? So there is 5/3. Now, if I would divide it into fifths, it would be a little bit different. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So 4/5 is there, right? So using the number line, we can see that 9/5 is greater than 5/3. Or another way we could say that is 5/3 is less than 9/5. We could also use number bonds to help us compare fractions, improper fractions such as 11/8 to mixed numbers. Remember, mixed numbers are numbers that have both a whole number part and a fraction part. In this case, the whole number part is 1 and the fraction part is 1/2. We can see 11/8 has a whole number, has 1 hidden in there. So another way to write 11/8 actually is 1 and 3/8. So really we just have to compare, how does 1 and 3/8 compare to 1/2? Well, we know that 4/8 is equal to 1/2. And so this is less than 1 1/2. Okay, here the directions tell us to compare the fractions using less than, greater than, less than, or equal to. And remember, we have to use these benchmark fractions of 0, 1/2, and 1 to help us compare. Okay, so let's think about it. 6/10 is actually really close to 1/2 because we can think about how 5/10 is equal to 1/2. And 6/10 is only 1/10 bigger. We also know that 5/6 is really close to 1 because 6/6, let me change that to a 6 actually, is equal to 1, right? Let me read it more clearly. So what's closer? What's bigger? Something closer to 1 or something closer to 1/2? Therefore, you can say that 6/10 is less than 5/6. In the second example of 8/9, that's really close to 1. We can think about that benchmark number. 3/2, we can think, well, if I have a number bond, that's 2/2, which is 1, right? And then we have 1/2. So what's bigger? Something close to 1 or 1 1/2? 1 1/2 is greater. So we can say that 8/9 is less than 3/2. Let's use number bonds to help us with this next problem too. We have 9/6. Okay, so if I use a number bond, I can take out 6/6, which is 1, and then there's 3/6 left. What do we know about 3/6? That's equal to 1/2. So this is equal to 1 1/2. Okay, in the case of 16/12, we can take out 12/12, and we're left with 4/12, right? 4/12. If I use division, I can say 4 divided by 4 equals 1 all over 12 divided by 4, which equals 3. So over here, this is the same as 1 1/3. So what's bigger, 1 1/2 or 1 1/3? 1 1/2 is bigger. So we can say that 9/6 is greater than 16/12. Okay, fourth graders, please practice these problems in your lesson 13 problem set and then work on your exit ticket. When you're done with your exit ticket, turn it in and work on Zern. Thank you.